Ooh, ooh. There it is. All right. So, guys, hey, last week we started about how we talked about how life started on Earth, and now we're going to be focusing on the big things, right? So, multicellular life on Earth and how long ago those things came about. So, like, when did the dinosaurs exist? How long ago did humans, like humans today, like humans that we see, how long ago did they exist? When did the fish first exist? So everything started around 555 million years ago, and there was like this boom, this Cambrian explosion, we call it, where all these varieties of animals evolved. We're not really sure exactly why that happened, but it did because it's in the rocks. We call them fossils, right? So about 530 million years ago, fish first evolved. We see these fossils only starting to come about 530 million years ago. Now, does that mean that 531 million years ago there weren't fish? There could have been. It's just that we don't have fossils of them. So at this point, this is how old we believe fish have been on Earth, 530 million years. And that's why there's such a variety of fish, like an incredible variety of fish, because they've had so long to evolve. About 420 million years ago, trees came onto the Earth. So the Earth, the surface of Earth was just rocks, really, covered by lichen in some places. And lichen is this little fuzzy moss-looking thing that actually eats rocks, and that creates the first soil, something for these first trees to grow in and grow nice and tall, right? So 420 million years ago, yeah, these trees evolved. There were other plants, but they were, waist high at the most. They weren't significant root bound in the ground like you see trees with their tap roots. So when a tree becomes a fossil, we call that petrified wood. And then 400 million years ago, insects evolved. So this is called an amber. And amber is just old sap that really fossilizes insects really well. You can actually buy these fossilized insects for not too expensive. But it's a really cool way to fossilize an organism, but it's only the small things because sap doesn't make these huge bubbles that a dinosaur could crawl into necessarily. And we have a crazy variety of insects, a tremendous amount of insects. We have over 8,000 species of beetles on the Earth that we know about. So there's a really, really diverse population of insects. 360 million years ago, the first animals started to make their way on land. And we actually have fossils of pretty much this bone here, the shoulder blades and shoulders, which fish don't really have. But it was this shoulder bone that made it possible for them to move around on land and eventually evolve to live on land. Really advantageous. 250 million years ago, around when Pangea existed, conifers first came to exist. So these are trees that are evergreens, and they have special ways of reproducing with cones and ways that pollen goes into the air, but these are not flowering plants. At this point, there were no flowering plants, so that means there were no fruit. There were vegetables, but there were no fruit because flowers make fruit. So dinosaurs and mammals and stuff like that, they had to eat just like plants and other animals until flowering plants came about. About 248 million years ago, the Permian extinction occurred, which killed 90% of life on Earth, really traumatic. And then there was a fresh start pretty much. So with these mass extinctions, sure, tons of things die, but then other things get to fill those places and we get to diversify. We get a whole new fresh start on the Earth. Well, not a whole new fresh start. The foundation's still there, but all the options for these big organisms become almost endless. 225 million years ago, this is the important one, dinosaurs, mammals, and birds evolved around the same time. Now, birds aren't necessarily going to be what you think of at first. Dinosaurs and birds are kind of intermingled, very similar, and they actually think that there's a good amount of dinosaurs that actually had feathers. They couldn't fly, but they had feathers, and they were beautiful. So that happened 225 million years ago, and then just 120 million years ago. It sounds like a long time, but 120 million years ago, before that, there was no fruit on the earth because the flowers make the fruit, which is pretty cool. And now 9 out of 10 plants on earth are flowering plants. And to give you some perspective, when spring happens and you see the trees and people are allergic to tree pollen, trees are just giant flowering plants. And the little spinny helicopter things that come down from them is proof that they are flowering plants. They're just huge flowers. 65 million years ago, the asteroid came in. It wasn't just the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs and made them go extinct. The asteroid kind of, we believe, started a chain reaction of significant events that caused a lot of changes to environments. We'll just put it that way. This is something that you should probably look up on your own. It's pretty interesting stuff. Oh, whoa. Okay, sorry. Pretty interesting stuff, and we know a good amount about it now. We're almost there, and we are here. So humans evolved, they say 130,000 years ago, but there's evidence that humans have been on, like modern humans have been around for almost like 300,000 years, which is double this number, more than double this number. But it's hard to say like exactly when humans evolved into modern day humans, because evolution is a constant process. Things are always evolving constantly. There's no stopping it. So like really the idea is like, who would we be able to reproduce with back in time? And that line is drawn about 300,000 years ago. So humans are a relatively young species, as is all the species, or as are all the species on Earth, because they're constantly evolving, constantly changing. All right, so that's the like little general history of life on Earth, or at least multicellular life on Earth. Good luck, enjoy, take it easy.